You can design, prototype, manufacture. You've had lathes, mills, 3D printers, everything you needed. Then you graduate. It's gone. Now you're in your shed with an IKEA table, limited tools, alone. This is where most hardware inventions die. Michael Korn from Blue Garage saw this. He spent 15 years building hospital screens, scaling a manufacturing business, and he kept asking, why does inventing have to be so lonely, so expensive, so gate-kept? So he built Blue Garage, 5 minutes from Lewisham Station behind big blue doors, equipment that used to be locked away, a micro factory, industrial tools, 3D printers. It's open to anyone scaling a hardware business even, to anyone making things that matter, because Michael has a theory. AI will take all the desk jobs, but making things, we're going to want more of it, more locally, by the people we can see, not shipped from factories polluting someone else's air. So what happens when you give the inventors the tools and the community to do it with? Michael Korn's about to tell us in today's value-packed Co-working Values podcast. Let's get into it. Hello, folks, and welcome to today's Co-working Values podcast. I don't know how this one's going to go because there's two incredibly ADHD excited people on the line, and we've got to keep to our time and our script. Are you ready, Mr. Korn?
I'm without a script, but let's go.
Let's go. What are you known for, Michael, and what would you like to be known for?
Oh, I didn't know that was coming. I have been known for the past 15 years as the screen guy. And now I want to be known as the innovation hub, scale up, accelerator, hardware inventor guy.
That's, if we were really smart, we'd be able to get that acronym there. It could be SHIELD or something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't able to think on two places at once. Something about inventing hardware. And basically, for the past 15 years, I've been building my own company with a product that I invented. Now I want to do that to help other people to do and go through the same thing that I went through and help them scale their business.
If only there was like this kind of garage thing in Lewisham, like
with big blue doors.
With big blue doors. Can you say what the Blue Garage is, just in 10 seconds, and then we'll get to the story.
Yeah, it's a place where people who make things and want to make a big impact can come and exceed their expectations and ambitions, so that they can build future manufacturing product businesses in the UK, taking it from maybe the prototype stage that they might be at right through to a production-scalable business phase. And we do it in a co-working style model where people have shared access to all of these equipment and tools that we've got on our production floor, also access to our micro factory on the ground floor, and very much inspired by you, Bernie, an amazing community spirit where people are helping each other.
Thank you.
Yes. To all, do what we can do in this difficult journey of building a hardware business.
There's and can you just, even as geeky as you like, can you list out like 6 tools that are available in that bat cave you have?
Yeah, well, we've got lathes and mills and welding. If you want to do stuff with metal, we've got all different types of saws and drills. If you want to do things with wood. We've got a 10-meter screen printing table if you want to print onto textiles or paper. Got a powder coating room if you want to paint metal, and then you can put it in our oven downstairs to cook it. We have a textiles lab with everything you might need, from sewing to, we're going to get some weaving and looms and lots of other things if you're doing anything with textiles. We're hopefully going to set up a dye lab, so you can create the inks and dyes that you need for textiles, and then potentially a garden with which to grow the plants that make those inks. 3D printing, everything you can think of if you're digitally printing things, and electronics fabrication suite. A general assembly area, so you could just make a mess and build things. Then offices, so you can make a noise and do sales and lock it and have your own space, or co-working space. And on the ground floor, we have a massive factory with some really good high-end large format fabrication equipment, like a 3x2 meter UV printer and a 3x2 meter CNC router, 3.2 meter wide UV roll-to-roll printer, and my favorite bit of kit, which is the Zünd 3x2 meter bed that cuts, creases, folds, perforates anything from film materials to cardboard to felt, and you can prototype one-offs, or you can actually do batch productions of things maybe in the hundreds. The kind of facility that normally you wouldn't be allowed to go and use, but we welcome inventors to come and use this.
That is, and if you're ever in Lewisham, pop in and have a look around, because like walking around it is like walking around 3 bat caves in one go. So like, why? I want to get to that question about like how you got started in manufacturing, and like, because remember when we first met, or you said, Blue Garage is a place I wish was around when I started. Where did you start?
So I think I started the manufacturing journey started maybe in my degree, before my degree, my first degree. I did engineering, but then I was way more interested in how things are made, maybe inspired by the YouTube videos, whatever it is, the How Things Are Made channel. So yeah, I always wanted to make things, and I went and I worked in factories all over the world. But then I studied design or innovation as a second degree, and on that course I invented a whole load of products because my ambition was to have my own company with my own product that was being manufactured, and lots of people were using it and it was doing some good. So I had all these inventions, and the one that took off was the hospital screen product called KwickScreen. And thus I was, I've been called the screen guy for 15 years. That business did very well in the pandemic, and we grew massively, and we invested loads into R&D and design. So my passion really is the process of inventing and the community around that. And so that's why I've set up Blue Garage. But I think your question was about how I first got into manufacturing.
That was good. Like I'm trying to, I'm trying to tease out that thing. Like, well, Bernie, I started in the corner of my friend's factory in Pinner with just a lathe.
I grew up. Well, no, it's true. My first ever entrepreneurial endeavor was making paper airplanes and selling it on the street. So there you go. I had my own little factory.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Something cool about making stuff.
There is. What is I've heard you say like it's very lonely inventing. Like, and there's that little line you have about your shed. Get out your shed and.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are making things. I don't think we get the recognition that we deserve, us inventors. And actually, there's a lot of people who have a job looking at a computer all day, but then in the evening, or on the weekends, they can't wait to like get into the shed and just make something. There's something intrinsically good, useful, and natural about making stuff. And a lot of the time, that's being done, on your own, which is both lonely, and in your own shed, which means it's probably a small space, and with like limited tools because it's just your tools. So I just think that's daft. I think we should be having a shared facility for that to happen. And there are maker spaces. So Blue Garage to some extent is a maker space, but the ambition is a lot greater than a maker space because we are focused on the people who are looking to entrepreneurially scale whatever it is that they're making. So it's not for hobbyists, and it's not for craft people and artists. It's for like the ambitious scale up hardware businesses, of which, there's a lot, and everything around us has been made. And so I think people often neglect the significance of physical products in our lives. And I've got a theory, and my theory is that the future is going to be more like the past than it is the present. Because with AI taking over so many jobs, it's going to take over all the jobs that are involving staring at a computer and pushing paper from one place to another. And the people that are actually making things, I think we're just going to want more and more of it. Obviously, we're also going to want more people. There's going to be jobs that are involved in like looking after people and hospitality. Like these jobs are still going to be needed, but the jobs of making stuff. And actually, I think people are going to more and more want things that are made locally. So they can see where it's made, who's made it, the quality of it, the pollution that's coming from it. And right now, so much of that is hidden, and it's all going on somewhere else in the world, affecting other people and polluting their rivers. And it's just, I don't think that's sustainable, both like economically, societally, or obviously environmentally. So I'm super excited that there's going to be an ever-growing number of people who are embracing their natural desire and passion and ability to make stuff. And Blue Garage will be one of the places that just enables that to happen.
I don't know whether that's true or not, but I'm heavily invested in that becoming true. That's one of my main things.
I'm plugging my professor's book here because he said it. And so I'm just repeating what he said. But basically, this is if anybody likes watching how things are made, I think that's the TV program. Well, this is the book that is like the modern day explanation of that. Your Life is Manufactured by Tim Minchin, who was my lecturer. Now he's the professor of manufacturing. Yeah, this is what he says, and he's a smart guy.
So I want to get into how do you prototype? Because I only found out about, like, I went to a fab. The first time I went to a fab lab was in Lisbon in 2014. And then because of the research group for collaborative spaces, I've been, every time I go to a conference or one of the symposiums, we end up going to a maker space or a fab lab. And I was like, oh my God. And my cousin, who's a engineer, was into Raspberry Pis when they came out and everything. So I've always like sort of seen this happening. But if someone said to me, you know, you've got to make a headphone case, I'd be like, I'd come to the Blue Garage now because I know that, but like I wouldn't know where to begin if I had to make something. You know, what's that first There was a question in there somewhere.
Yeah. How do you prototype? Everyone does it in different ways, and so I guess in a way, I'm not a design consultancy that has a process. Okay, there's lots of people in Blue Garage doing things in very different ways. Some people would straight away go on the computer and sketch out and print 3D different versions of the case to make it more aesthetically pleasing. Other people in Blue Garage would be looking at that same problem. In fact, there is somebody doing something very similar. And they'd think, oh, the problem with a phone case is, or an AirPod case, right, is the plastic. And plastic's a bad material and we need to make it locally. So he'd be squashing leaves and making a new composite material out of squashed leaves and making, you know, the same functional product that looks the same, but is made out of leaves and therefore is better. There's other people in Blue Garage that can do clever stuff with technology. So they'd be inventing headphones that can, you know, more advanced. For instance, there's someone who has made a device that listens to insects. And by listening to mosquitoes, for instance, he can determine whether it is the variety that carries malaria or not carrying malaria. And in his lab in Blue Garage, he has all these like high-end microphones and microscopes. So he would approach that from a technical perspective. If I was an inventor, like if I was inventing right now, I'm not. I'm building a community and a space for inventors. But I would just go.
Face.
I'm a community guy. Is that right? I just want to be you. So yeah, I'd solve that problem by going. I'd just start asking people, hey, you know, how do you use your headphones? Or I'd watch them use it, and I'd see that every time they drop the case, they fall out, and it's really annoying. And sometimes you press the button to change the volume, but the sound. So I would just my instinct is to solve problems for people. So there's all different ways you can go about it. There is no one way. And that's one of the things that I love about this space.
And is it like, you know, because you hear all this stuff online. Oh, you can bootstrap your business in 10 seconds. And like, if you want to like make something, is it very expensive to like, you know, like I got a thermos flask here. If I wanted to make a thermos flask prototype, is that, you know, entry level, not just to use Blue Garage, but do you need to have £1,000 to make it all happen? Or like, how do the finances work?
You're pulling out all the right products. There is somebody in Blue Garage who is making thermos flasks. And so, you know, you could go talk to him and he's got the experience in it. It depends what you're doing in that. So what are you doing in that? If you're creating a different look and feel for it, that's super easy. If you want to play around with different materials, we've got the capabilities to do that. But it really is easier now than it's ever been. So many things that previously you need to have loads of skills to do the computer modeling or to use the software or to manufacture it. And, you know, you'd have to have a very expensive fabrication facility to do it. You know, there's AI, there's cloud-based software, and there's 3D printing. And what I support, encourage is it's understood now that people will go down a lean startup approach to making something. So I could invent a new thermos flask, but not actually have one that works, but just proves the concept. And I can start selling it based on a rough and ready concept that people will understand. And then I could raise money to do it properly. That approach is now very understood. You don't have to have the perfect thing when you start.
Yeah. Has that made it, that must have, I mean, I remember when all the crowdfunding and the Pebble watches and all that stuff came about, like that seemed to be way more interesting as a, you know, someone who might buy it and someone who's making it, rather than like this kind of waterfall model of like, yes, we're selling it here. Everything had to be perfect before, didn't it? And now it's like co-created almost. Is that a bit?
Yeah, the imperfection in the story is often the thing that sells it, and the big companies cannot do that. So there's a huge opportunity to fill in the gaps where big companies they can't fill in those gaps. And I think those gaps are growing. I think the fastest clothing brand is Vinted. So, that's the whole what's the word? Fast fashion is just like, what are they going to do? If we're all going to be buying clothes from each other and repairing them and fixing them up, like, that's incredible.
My 14-year-old son is killing it on Vinted. Like some weeks he must make more money than me. He goes and there's there's that whole kind of thing that was started in Brick Lane years ago, like vintage shops. There's pop-up vintage shops, and he goes in and he'll walk in. He's only 14, and I'm not very fashionista. He'll walk in and he'll like find 3 Ralph Lauren shirts that are horrible. Sorry if you like Ralph Lauren gear, folks, and then just buy them and they'll be on Vinted, by the end of the day. I'm so chuffed with him, but it is, I don't know much about it, whether it works or not, but like, it means he asks us less for money. So I'm like well into it. And I want to jump. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent there. Can you talk about your relationship with universities? Because I see that like zooming past in my LinkedIn feed of 5 million university students came for a pop-up talk and to play with a welder at Blue Garage. Like, there is an importance of the relationship of an establishment like yours and university, and why is that important to you, and what happens?
Well, an important thing for me is I went through that journey. So I went to, I actually was involved in quite a few universities, but the number of people, so I studied manufacturing at Cambridge, then I studied design and innovation at the Royal College of Art, which was also paired with Imperial. So you'd think with that, and a lot of other people that did that same journey as me, you'd think, oh, great, well, surely there's a lot of people that go on to be inventors and start their own businesses and build lots of jobs and, change the world for the better. The reality is most people go and get a job in a consultancy, a bank, something like that. And then they're just working for, the establishment, the bigger companies. They're not really changing.
I was going to say that as a cruel joke, and I held back.
What's that? That all my friends have got jobs and I didn't.
No. I was going to say they do that like wonderful creative journey, and then they go and work for like McKinsey or Deutsche Bank.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the salaries are significantly higher, and the status in society is higher. At least it was. I think it's changing now. Actually, I think when I started back in 2007, and I said I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I couldn't, and I still can't spell the word, but nobody knew what an entrepreneur was. It really was like Dragon's Den had only just started. And so I was like this, weird inventor. And it was, but now it's completely different. It is very much a recognized route to go. And there's a lot of people who have got jobs that are doing a side hustle on the side, and they want to be an entrepreneur, and they're, inspired by all the stories they hear. So I want to encourage that, and I want to show that you can do that in all different kinds of ways. And not enough people coming out of universities, I think, realize that you can actually make stuff. Or some of the people at universities were making stuff, learning how to make stuff. They had all of these incredible facilities, and they leave university, and then that's it. That's it. There's nowhere to make things anymore. How can they access, even the simple things like, band saws and, welding, like we said, just the simple tools that at university you didn't necessarily appreciate because you had this, design, technology, engineering department. But after that, if you had an idea and you wanted to take it forwards, it's pretty hard, especially if you're in London, because everything in London is so much more expensive. So I want to show people that there's a route that they can take where they can start their own business. It's scary, but it's scary for everyone. So, do it, and do it with people who are there to support you. And it's also incredibly expensive if you're going to be making something. So by joining Blue Garage, and there's other there for university spin-outs, there's lots of maker spaces. It's a great place to get started, because you essentially pay for your desk like in a co-working space, but you have access to all of the tools and equipment that you would have had at university.
I think like that kind of space, like Blue Garage, and also in like I get the same vibe. It's a different kind of space, but I get the same vibe when I'm in Urban MBA and they have all the 3D printers and meta thing and gaming things, and And you do get a network when you go to university, but then that network disperses. And one of the biggest things for like young people in co-working spaces, and any kind of collaborative workspace that is like open to everybody is building those networks. And whatever kind of, however you see yourself, whether you're a creator, an entrepreneur, or a business owner, like being in business and in life, you actually I'd say like you're building your network for life by being around other people doing the same thing. And that we were talking about it before we came on, like that kind of, how do you say it without being cheesy? Like I would imagine making stuff in Blue Garage, like the accelerator is the community as well as the equipment.
Yeah. Well, often the biggest impediment to success is oneself. So having people around you that can make you realize, dude, you're doing it wrong. They don't say it, but you just see people doing things differently, and you realize, oh shit, I could do this differently. And then you don't hit that wall that you maybe kept hitting, or it's just the motivation. I mean, obviously, people that are inventing tend to have like very strong motivation and drive, but it can still become quite tough. If you're around lots of other people doing it, it's easier and it's more fun. It's a bit like, I don't know, doing a marathon. Doing a half marathon. I've done a half marathon. Definitely, I run fast and it's more enjoyable when it's a race than when I'm on my own. I'm more likely to stop and wander and sit down. If I'm, lots of other people doing it with me, I'm going to keep going. And when the odd, people cheering and giving you water as well on the side is helpful. So we're trying to, create that environment for people that are doing something that is very difficult.
One thing I want to say, we said the word innovation a lot, and I do think I just got to shout this out. I think like Blue Garage is one of the few buildings I've seen in ever in London that uses the word innovation. Can actually, doesn't make me want to roll my eyes. And there's just that whole innovation word is irritating, unless we're talking about Blue Garage. But how?
Anytime you're allowed to use the word.
The only time you're allowed to use the word. I used to, like 10 years ago, I'd encourage people to put it on their website. Yeah, put community innovation. We were like a group of desks in Houston. Okay, maybe there's not much innovation happening here. Let's be honest. But how we talked about it a bit at the beginning, but like, could you sort of like spell out in a kind of too long didn't read how important like manufacturing and all this kind of making is, for want of a better term, is important to the UK economy? Because as I've followed more of you over the past year, I wanted it to be true, but now I've seen it to be true. And as we went to the Workspace Design Show, I walked around and I paid attention to different things and kind of saw them in a different light, because it was the, I'd seen how it was made a bit at Blue Garage, and then I appreciated all those phone booths and coffee machines a little bit more when I worked at the thing. So what is manufacturing doing in the UK now, I suppose, is my question.
Amazing. Oh, good question. Well, manufacturing is off very enjoyable, worthwhile jobs. You are part of making something. I think there's something inherently satisfying about that, and there's a lot of it. Like when you know all these industrial units around the country, and then the large manufacturing establishments. There's a lot that is made in the UK, but there needs to be even more. And I think when the pandemic happened, for instance, we realised how reliant we are on things made abroad. Or when a ship gets stuck in the Suez Canal, we realised that, oh my goodness, there's so many different components that go into everything that we buy. It's a very fragile ecosystem we live in. And if we can make more in the UK, we create more of these good jobs. There's a ripple effect. One product that's made in the UK will employ someone to, assemble and ship the product, but then also somebody to design it, and then the knock-on of the jobs around there for people that are supplying to it. It's the most wonderful multiplier effect of an industry that you just don't get in like financial services. Like, there'll be one person at a computer and they'll press send and the job's done. So it's rewarding. It is creates jobs. It's inherently a more environmentally sustainable way to operate, because if we're getting stuff made abroad, the chances are it's going to be made somewhere like in China or Vietnam, and no way are they adhering to the same regulations that we have to adhere to here. So it's going to be made in a more polluting way with worse labor practices. And we're just exporting our sort of bad behaviors that we're going to stop doing here. And we just export it somewhere else in the world. And we don't just do that. We then have to ship it all the way across the world to come to us. And we're pushing it down on price. So we're just going to buy some crappy product that pushed down on price, and we all suffer for it. And then it breaks and we have to buy it again, the next year. And I just don't think that's the way that the future is going. And it would be much nicer if we were more, if we could buy things from people that we in a way knew, or weren't that separated from the person making it and where they were making it. I think it would just create a much better world.
I do too. There's a whole thing we talk about citizenship, and it's the end of the consumer story, and we're now in the citizen story. And there's like, I'll put a link in the show notes to this. We're getting everyone to show this actionism film, which is basically that is how people can. There's a friend of ours, Gavin, and he has a shop in a ski resort, and he makes more revenue fixing people's ski gear than selling them new stuff. And it's not a quick thing. It's like taken 5 years to get it going, but now people bring their mega ski jackets in to get fixed. And
I lost you. Oh.
They bring their mega ski jackets in to get fixed, and instead of like buying a new one and getting it shipped up a mountain, they're like repaired there on site. But what's the best way? I mean, I don't suppose you're having an open day soon, Michael, are you? At the time of this podcast,
it might just be happening. So on October the 16th is a big open day. It is the demo day of the Materialize program that we've just been running. We had 45 textiles related startup businesses, so similar to your friend on the ski resort, from 5 till 9 at Blue Garage in Lewisham. We're going to have exhibits from these companies. Some of them are going to be pitching for money. We're going to have the universities, like you mentioned, UAL, Royal College of Art, Goldsmiths turning up. We've partnered with them, and some of their students who are using Blue Garage will be exhibiting their projects. Investors will be there, and we really are going to be attracting the ambitious scale-up businesses that are going to benefit from all of this interest in advanced manufacturing and advanced materials. And we are going to be part of the revolution of the UK manufacturing industry, so that we can actually compete globally and have some like significant companies that are going to be established and remain in the UK. And the innovation ecosystem and cluster that we're establishing in South London, we think is going to be central to that. And hopefully Blue Garage will expand to across the UK. So wherever you might be, if you feel like there is an opportunity for an innovation cluster there, then that's where our ambitions are, so that we can have a network effect of these hubs that are supporting scale up hardware businesses all across the country. And then next podcast, we'll talk about our international expansion.
Yeah, and global. That's, the way you frame that, it sounds like all of that is happening on that evening at the Blue Garage.
It's all starting. We're showing what we've done, and in a year with hardly any budget, we've achieved like we were meant to help 10 companies. We've helped 45. So yeah, like we're always over achieving on what our expectations were. And so right now, yeah, I am thinking globally, but therefore that is going to push us through from this first site to have a national rollout.
That's ace. And we'll put a link in the show notes to everything. But for the people that are washing up or running or, working on their prototype listening to this, where's the best place to find you online?
I know LinkedIn. So Michael Korn, that's with a K. A bit like the
rock band
handbag designer, but with an N. Or the rock band. That's right. Michael Rock Band Korn. But Blue Garage is the best place to look, because the Blue Garage either on Instagram or LinkedIn.
And how far is it from, like, I can't remember. I think I want to say it's 10 minutes walk from Lewisham Station. Is that correct? Or is it
You've got short legs. It's about 5.
Is it? Okay. I am sure. Jeez, so heightist, aren't you? Okay. There's so thanks very much, folks. Go and have a look around Blue Garage. You have to pretend to get in the door and say I'm a manufacturing investor. It just looks like this building on a roundabout in Lewisham, 5 minutes from Lewisham Station, but it's a whole Batcave inside. We are going to be at the Workspace Design Show at the end of February. We're also doing an in-person event at the same time in London in February, which is based upon our Unreasonable Connection on monthly online event. So there's a link in the show notes to that. And then we're always talking about stuff right now. At the time of posting, there's Juicy UK and there's Co-working Canada going on. And there's all the podcasts by Suzanne and Fanny and Caleb, all in the LinkedIn co-working group. That's a great place to catch up and just pop in there and like. We have had more people be active in that group in the last 2 months than in the last 5 years. So thank you for taking part. Say goodbye, Michael.
Bye-bye. Thank you.